Welcome to Greater Good Radio Hawaii, where leaders inspire leaders. Greater Good Radio Hawaii is dedicated to social entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Evan Leong, and with me is my co-host, Carrie Leong.
Thank you, Evan. Today's guest is Susan Page, founder of known international fashion and photo companies, Susan Pages, and currently the vice president of Coffee Enterprises, Inc. Susan writes a column for Midweek under Susan's Page, focusing on social and political issues facing Hawaii and the nation. Please welcome to Greater Good Radio, Susan Page. Welcome to our show, Susan.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Evan. Radio, what a misnomer. It's a trick. It's a good trick.
Could you tell us a little bit about your writing and how you got involved with writing? Because you've been doing that for about 14 years.
That's right. I got involved. Well, first of all, this is kind of interesting. When I was cleaning out my parents' home back in when we moved them out of their house, and actually after my father died, and I found an old paper that I wrote in the 8th grade, and it said, it was one of those papers you write at the beginning of every term, and it said, what I want to be when I grow up. And when I was in 8th grade, I said I wanted to be a journalist. But I totally forgot about that until many, many, many years later, after I'd had other careers in business and other things. And so sort of discovered that must be comes from my inner purpose or something. But I started writing specifically for Midweek back in 1992 when the publisher asked me to do a column on fashion. I had the modeling school and I had the photo studios at the time, and he was looking for, it was Ken Berry, he was looking for a writer for fashion things. And so I thought, great, they're going to pay me, and I'm going to get basically a half page ad for my business. And I thought, this is going to be easy and so great, because I'd written a lot when you're in business and you do the marketing for your own company, you do a lot of writing. And so I thought, it was pretty easy for me. And so I started out doing fashion. I would never show anybody those old columns because they were long and really, as it turns out, kind of boring. But so I started doing that. And about 4 years into it, maybe 3 years, I started transitioning away from fashion and just kind of doing style and lifestyle. And then I moved into a little bit of politics here and really just current events. So it's been an interesting transition, and I think I've learned some technique about writing. I've had good editors. Don Chapman, my editor, has taught me a lot about how to edit. Writing is rewriting, he tells me all the time. And I've learned to do that. So that's kind of how I got started.
How did you move from your modeling career to your business to writing?
Well, it was a move. I did it at the same time. The time when I had Susan Page Modeling, and that was from 1984 to 1984 to 1994. I did a lot of things. I did over 2,000 furniture commercials as on-air talent for all over the country. At the same time I was running this business, I was a mother of two. I did writing for Midweek, which was more later towards the end. But opened up a big company in California that was sort of an offshoot of Susan Page Modeling called Freeze Frame, which was the makeover photo studios. And we started a franchise company which extended all the way to Japan and Indonesia. So I guess, I don't know, that's the reason I'm not so busy right now, or I try to maintain a little balance, because I don't think I had any back then. I was just busy, just really busy doing everything. If somebody said do, I said, okay, I'll do it.
How did you manage your time during that period?
Time management is, I think anybody that has been worked out of the house and then comes back, decides they're going to be a stay-at-home mom or work in the house, finds that time management is really hard when you don't have as much structure. I had so much to do that I had a lot of structure. So I managed my time through really good employees. I had a great assistant. And I also had the agency, so we were booking models as well all over New York, Europe, Japan. So I think the more I did, the more track I had to keep of my time, so the better track, I should say. So, yeah, I don't know how I did it. I look back and go, that was pretty crazy.
How did you come up with your business ideas of starting new companies or doing something new and getting your feet into a lot of different businesses?
Well, actually, I had worked as a model and an actress for a long time prior to moving even to Hawaii in 1983. And, I really had experienced model agencies that were not very good. especially in Los Angeles, that were pretty hard-hearted and not kind and didn't help develop you as a talent, as an actor or model. And it was pretty harsh reality. And I always thought that if I ever did this, I would do it differently. If I were ever in that position, I'd do it differently. So I had an opportunity actually to buy an small existing agency. And that's what I did, and then changed the name and pretty much changed the whole business to sort of under a model that I, no pun intended, sort of formed based on my life experience doing that. But I really didn't have any business experience as far as running a business. I didn't have any education in business or anything.
Was that your first business that you've ever started?
Actually, I had a very small production business. We did video and audio production in Dallas. I had a partner. And so that was my first. But that was only for about a year and a half. And then when I moved to Hawaii, it was my very first business experience. It's sort of like being dropped onto a surfboard on the North Shore during the winter. That's about how I felt.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more on Greater Good Radio.